Hello, everyone. This is Ballin with Bill here at Sideline Power at the studios here, and with a fine young man, kid I used to watch play high school football, and now is coaching and athletic director out at Elmwood-Murdock. Coach Steffen, great to have you here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Awesome. So we're going to kind of start off, relax, talk about how you got started in football as a young man, and kind of how you grew up being a football player and playing in college ball, and then getting into coaching and teaching and all that stuff. So how did it all begin for you?
Well, I, like most kids, I just wanted to compete. And I played, youth football, youth basketball, baseball all the way through. And it was just the thing that everybody did that was my age. And, when we got up to to junior high, I actually transferred over to Waverly. My mom had got remarried and had some great coaches there. Mike Johnson was the head football coach there. And Mike kind of, by the end of my sophomore year, had taken me under his wing a little bit, and they got a divorce. My mom and my stepdad got a divorce, and we came back here at Elmwood-Murdock, and I was a part of the state basketball championship as a sophomore.
Okay.
And a part of that team, and just being around winners like that all the time, and all those kids, they all played football, they all played basketball, they all ran track, except our best player, Kevin, who was a state finalist golfer. I know that. So it's just what we did, and got in with Coach Smalley at Elmwood-Murdock, and there's the cliche that football coach is like your dad. Well, I didn't have a dad really growing up, so Coach Smalley was my dad as far as I was concerned, and built a great relationship with him. And my senior year, I had study hall at the same time he had his playing period, and so a couple times a week I'd sneak down to his classroom, and he'd have football on, or he'd be thinking about game planning, or during track season, what we're going to do here, and just got to be around him and ask him questions about what do you watch for on film. And so I learned how to watch film with Coach Smalley, and how do you build a scouting report. And so I learned how much time actually goes into building a scouting report and being around it, and fell in love with the process. All that. I had great coaches in high school. I had Coach Smalley and Terry Warner and Dave Novak in basketball, and just tough men for sure, but great examples for me. And that's just the calling I felt like I needed to get back to.
Gotcha. So now you graduated from there. Then tell us about the process that you're looking at colleges and everything. I remember you're at one of our games and stuff. So tell us about that whole process.
Yeah.
And how you ended up going about your thought about going to Peru State.
Right. Nobody really tells you how to get recruited. I think kids have more information nowadays.
Oh, I do. No question.
When I was looking at, I knew I wanted to play football. I knew I was good enough to probably play at some level, and what position, what level, what school, I had no idea.
Yeah.
But I knew a few things were important to me. First I wanted to play, and so I got phone calls from North Dakota State, and I didn't know where North Dakota State was. I had no idea about them. They hadn't won championships yet. And Northwest Missouri State, and I had some phone calls and talked to those coaches. And I knew I wasn't probably going to play in the NFL. and so playing at a big level, that I wasn't attracted to that. I wanted to play football for 4 years and then go on and teach and coach and get on with my life a little bit. And, got recruited by a bunch of the GPAC, NAIA level schools, D2 level schools, and was probably a week or two away from signing with Northwestern up in Orange City, Iowa.
Right.
And loved their coach, loved their team, their facility there. They didn't want me to play receiver; they wanted me to play H-back.
Okay.
And I didn't love that, but what did I know, right? I was just some kid. And on a whim, I went down to Peru State. Chuck Mazursky had stopped by the school, and he was an assistant.
Lincoln Southeast coach.
Yep. He stopped by the school and said, well, why don't you just come down and take a look? And he goes, we can get your financial package down to about zero. Why don't you just come take a look? Maybe talk to Coach, Coach
Clark was there.
Clark,
at the time,
yeah. Coach Clark was the coach at the time, and just see what we can offer you. And I went down there and loved it. I fell in love with the small campus, with seeing people walk by and everybody knew each other's name, and that's what I was used to at Elmwood-Murdock.
Right.
Small town feel to it. I went and sat down at Coach Clark's office, and he said, "Well, you got a great chance to play," and that was it. They had the financial piece down to about zero, and gave me an opportunity to play early. didn't promise me, that was important, didn't promise me the chance to play, promised me the opportunity to play right away, and everything worked out there, and I loved that campus.
Yeah, it's kind of a cool campus along the river, you know, stuff like that there and everything. I think it's always pretty. When we played there. We played in the old stadium, not the new one. Now the new one's really sharp now.
Yeah, I never got to play in that new one. So my senior year, they were building that new stadium.
They started doing that,
and they told us, well, you're not going to play your first game here, but maybe our second one. Well, then that timetable slipped, and by the halfway through the year, you'll be playing home games. And then that never happened, and then it was, well, hopefully for the last game of the year, and they didn't even have the turf started to put down yet. So they haven't even poured the concrete that goes underneath it.
Right,
so,
they hadn't done that yet.
Yeah, so we didn't get to play any of them. So actually we played 11 pretty much road games, played 2 at Auburn, 2 at Falls City, and 2 at Nebraska City.
Oh, I remember that year. Yeah, when you guys were doing that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was different.
Yeah,
every game's a road game. You're traveling every game.
Right. Yeah.
So now, what conference were you? Because you were independent there for a while. Then did you join the Heart of America? Then when you were there, is that when they joined it officially?
Yeah, I think it was my sophomore years when we joined the HAC, the Heart of America.
Yeah.
And that was different. That was a different level of competition than we were used to.
Yeah.
And I mean, we had guys. That first year was rough. I remember we went down to Mid-American Nazarene, and they had this D end who had been a 3-time All-American. He got drafted in like the 2nd or 3rd round. They had a tight end who was a 4-time All-American, got drafted in the 2nd round of the Seahawks. I'm on the same field with these guys who should be at K-State or somewhere else down the road, and that was an eye opener for me and for a lot of guys on our team that we needed to get better.
Yeah. So now, what position did they put you in college?
I played wide receiver, all 4 years there. And I know they flirted with putting me at tight end.
Because of the wishbone and stuff, I'm sure they looked at that.
Yeah, flex bone.
The flex bone.
My second 2 years. The first 2 years, we were an I-Pro.
Yeah, you're a pro formation guy.
Yep. And that was fun. I mean, I played some X and some Z there. My sophomore year, we kind of morphed into this. I don't think that was the plan, but we ended up being an air raid kind of team, and I caught 40 or 50 passes. And
that's fun now.
I had a great time catching passes. What I didn't enjoy was the 2-win season. And so that next year, Coach Schneider took over and switched us to kind of the flex bone triple option.
Mm-hmm.
And I fell in love with the triple option. I didn't fall in love with not catching passes and blocking all the time.
No, because you better be able to get in somebody's face if you're going to run the triple option.
Right, but the winning was fun. It felt like we had a plan. Great defensive players could be neutralized, and I took a lot of that. We run the option now, and junior year we won 5 games. Senior year we won 7 games. Had some big injuries. You know, our quarterback went down in our preseason scrimmage. He was on the watch list for the player of the conference. Player of the year in the conference. And tore his ACL in our spring scrimmage. And that was a nightmare. We had to move corner to quarterback, and he ended up being a first-team all-conference guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No kidding.
And we I think we lost 3 out of our last 4 games and didn't just miss the playoffs by a game. We win one of those, we probably win. With him, we probably win them all.
Wow. And that's too bad.
Yeah.
And that was Schneider's second year there?
That was Schneider's second year.
Yeah, okay. So now you're kind of getting done, and what are your plans now that you're graduating and you've played college ball and had a good successful career? What are your plans?
I student taught in the fall of 2014 at Norris, and I was going to go there, and I kind of had some plans with Coach Jacobson. I was going to help out with the varsity, and he comes to me and says, "Well, we got a ton of help over here at the varsity level, and I love to get student teachers in at this level, and we've got openings in the junior high where you could actually get to coach. Would you be interested in that?" And I said, "Yeah." And so I went and I coached 7th grade football at Norris.
No kidding. That's a good experience.
Oh, it was a great experience, actually. Because I'm coming from college where guys can function, and even your worst players played football before.
Right.
I get in with 7th graders.
They don't know how to put shoulder pads on.
Well, yeah, we got to figure out how to get our knee pads in our pants. I mean,
we sure they don't put the thigh pads down there.
Right. And it's just it taught me a lot about being patient.
Yeah.
And we did a lot of good things, and I followed that 7th grade class all the way through. They had a ton of success in high school, but go from there. I graduate in December of 2014, and I take a job at Perkins County, which is Grant. Nebraska.
Okay.
January of 2015.
Okay.
And so
were you the head coach or assistant?
I was just a teacher at that
Okay.
point.
Okay.
And so I took over. It was supposed to just be a semester gig, and I asked if they'd keep me around in the fall. Again, small town feeling. I was on my own, making my own way a little bit, and loved that. Loved Grant and the community around there, Perkins County community, and so I stuck around. And that next fall, I was assistant football and assistant girls basketball. Assistant football under Carly Wells.
Okay.
I don't know if you know Carly. If you
I've
don't,
heard the
if
name.
you don't, it's probably better.
I've heard the name.
Carly's a good guy, and I learned a lot from him about toughness and about consistency and preparation, and how to work hard. Carly said to me one time, and I don't know if he'll remember this ever, but he told me one time, what do you want to do? What do you want out of all this? And I said, well, I want to be a head coach someday. And he goes, well, then you need to put in head coach hours. You need to put in head coach time. If I'm here, you're here. And that stuck with me. And it's true. If you want to do it, it's nice as you're an assistant. You just show up to practice, you coach your group, and you go home, And when I started showing up the same hours Carly was showing up, that's when football changed a little bit for me. And I saw, well, geez, you're not just talking about practice, or games. You're talking about game planning. You're talking about watching film. You're talking about, hey, Jimmy doesn't have his helmet, or what do you do when you bust a chin strap, or somebody loses their mouthpiece on kickoff, all that little stuff that you just don't ever, that's not the sexy stuff, you don't ever think about when you're thinking, yeah, I'm going to be a head football coach someday. I learned a lot of that from him.
Putting everything in your budgets for equipment,
Right.
reconditioning, all that stuff.
All of that stuff.
Yeah.
And Carly was the AD. I learned a lot from him there too. And then that next year, girls basketball coach stepped down, and I took over that. I was still an assistant with football, and boy, I learned a lot coaching girls basketball. I had taken over a team that we had won a combined one game the 2 seasons before that, and so we weren't very good at all. And I mean, it's not at that point. It wasn't really coaching basketball. It was coaching how to dribble, how to pass, how to talk, how to show up to practice, and what to wear. And I came in with this idea. Terry Warner was my basketball coach. If you know anything about Terry and Dave Novak, they're tough. Some of the toughest people I know, and that's who I thought I needed to be. And I come in first practice, and I'm yelling, I'm screaming, and they're running, and they're crying. and
You're like going, oh, no.
I think I started that season with 16 or 17 girls, and we finished with 11.
They're crying.
Yeah.
Oh, no. That's not good.
But we won 2 games,
Okay.
and I felt like they were ready to throw me a parade in that town for that girls basketball team. And late that spring, Carly took a job in May to be a principal in Elmwood-Murdock. And superintendent over there, Philip PK, came to me and said, do you want to be the football coach? I said, heck yeah, I want to be the football coach.
Right.
He goes, well, do you want to be the AD too? I go, I hadn't really thought about it, but yeah, I'll be the AD. And he goes, so understand what I'm asking you. I want you to teach half a day. I want you to be the football coach. I want you to be the head girls basketball coach for 1 more year until we can find a replacement for you. I thought about it, and I was 25.
This is a grant, right? This
Is
is
that still at Perkins County? I was
Okay.
I was 25, and we didn't have any kids yet. And I said, heck yeah, let's do it. And boy, that was an experience for me.
Especially add the AD with every
Yeah,
ball.
you're not just keeping your head above water. You're trying to figure out how fast am I going to drown here. and
Yeah.
and
Yeah, I know that
we
feeling.
had a great football season. We were a quarterfinal team. We actually second round game against West Holt that we had to win on a Hail Mary that made ESPN, and that was a huge deal for our kids.
Yeah.
I think we were number 6 on that week.
Oh, that's all right.
And
that's cool.
it was really cool. And lost in the quarterfinals. Had some great 5 seniors, but I only had 20 kids out. Had 5 great seniors. Quarterback who'd been a 4-year starter. So when I took over, I said, Charlie, here's the keys to the offense. You know it better than I do. I just kept a lot of what Carly had done. It's the stuff I believe in. I formation, triple option type stuff, power football type stuff, the stuff I played in high school and was used to in college. And,
Right.
And it made sense. And God, I was lucky to have a guy like Charlie to
Run your offense.
run my offense for me.
Yeah.
I mean, really. had great assistants. I didn't realize until later how good my assistants were. I had a D coordinator who'd been there for 20 years. I had the head track coach was one of my assistants. The head wrestling coach was one of my assistants. The guy I had up in the booth was the head junior high coach or assistant junior high coach, but he'd been there forever. And I didn't realize how good I had it at 25.
That's a good deal. That
leading
helps
that
with
football
the AD,
team.
Helps you with AD because all the responsibility
amazing.
goes with AD.
Yeah, it was amazing that first year. Girls, we won another 2 games.
Now, how was that adjustment going from coaching boys to coaching girls? I mean, right back-to-back seasons. What was that like?
Honestly, that was refreshing. You get so into a football season, especially the one we were in, where you get to the quarterfinals, you put so much time into it, and you know the way I was brought up as a high school kid was, you got to be tough, and I'm a little bit of a yeller. I have pretty high expectations of people, and
yeah,
you wear on those boys just a little bit, and it was kind of a breath of fresh air to switch over to girls. And
what's the difference? I mean, because I've never coached females before. I've always coached football, and I've coached wrestling too.
Right, girls cry, and it took me forever. I'm not comfortable around crying.
I'm not either
at all, and it took me a long time to realize they're not sad, they're not soft, they're not weak or whatever it is. They just cry sometimes,
yeah.
and sometimes it's the best move. Pat them on the back. Other times you just got to walk away and let them cry. And,
yeah.
And I enjoyed the fact that I had to really teach with girls. They say with boys you got to win to have fun, and with girls you got to have fun to win. And that's
a good point. Never thought of that.
That's something I really tried to take with me.
That's interesting. Now I've heard that. So now how long were you at Grant before you moved to your new position now, or were you go somewhere in between
I went straight from Perkins County to Elmwood-Murdock. So Coach Smalley was my coach, and I think he was the only football coach Elmwood-Murdock ever had since consolidation. And Coach Smalley, he told me that summer his daughter got married. I went to the wedding and talked to him a little bit there. He told me, I'm probably thinking about retiring here. This will probably be my last year, that summer before. And so when he retired, I just met him at the Bulldog Bar in Murdock, and he said, "Hey, I'm retiring. Would you be interested?" And I told him, "No way. I got a great thing going out here. I'm football coach, AD. I'm getting rid of girls basketball. It'll be so much better for us." And he goes, "Well, why don't you just apply? And if they give you an interview, you ought to just come interview and just make sure, because you don't want to regret that." And so I took that information back home with me and still told him, no, I'm not going to do it. And I went and talked to Larry Pritchett. And Larry Pritchett is this legendary basketball coach from Grant. Those 5 championships Grant had, 400 wins Grant had, and then
right.
I think 80s and 90s. Those were him.
That was him.
And he's the teammates mentor at Perkins County.
Okay.
Office right by the front door. I think it was just a way to get Larry back in the building. But I sat down at Larry's desk and go, "Larry, what should I do?" And he said, "You need to apply." He goes, "I'll fire you right here." He had no authority to fire me. He goes, "I'll fire you right here if you don't apply." Yeah. So I guess he was a school board member, so maybe that's what he was talking about. But so I applied, and I went in with bad attitude. I'm not going to love it. I got in the interview room and got around the school again and got back in the community a little bit, and I loved it. And offered me the job, and I took it. And that was a hard thing for me to do.
To move from there to here.
And especially to move home. It's one thing taking a new job and leaving where you've been comfortable. It's another thing to go to that place where they knew you when you were 15 and 16 years old and
getting in trouble.
I'm not that kid anymore. And,
used to cause problems.
Yeah. And I'm the adult, and I'm gonna tell you how it's gonna be. And
right.
You still see me with my backwards hat and whatever, right, running around. And that was hard, moving back home and reestablishing who Lance Steffen was to the community
as a new coach and stuff.
Yeah.
So now because I asked the last guy this, I just will carry on, but you played 11-man football all your life. How did you make the changes to go to 8-man? Because I think to me, you'd lose those 3 guys. There's a lot of things, and it's more wide open. Let's be honest.
Right.
It's open field tackling. There's no real gang tackling in this thing.
Right.
Because there's too much field.
Yeah.
So how did you adjust everything that you do coaching-wise and all that to the 8-man game? I mean, you did that already, so you had that experience, but what was the adjustment for you?
That's hard. Perkins County was 8-man when I was out there.
Right.
And so the second 8-man game I ever watched, I was on the sideline. And that was just wild. Just
Well, they can score points. I wouldn't want to be a DC at that level.
well, defense, you always feel like you're a guy short.
Yeah.
You know, where's the safety to clean up our mess? You know.
Yeah.
And it is. It's open field. It's wide open spaces. It's you make one guy miss and you score.
You score, yeah.
And you got to be okay with that. And that took me forever to get okay with.
Yeah.
You know, we're not going to win a game always 7-0.
No, not
you know,
not
unless they're two great teams that are just squaring up and playing. But an 8-man, a 7-0 game is probably a 30-30
right
kind of game, and 30-29, and
right.
and that's
right.
that's huge. And then 2-point conversions are just that's normal. Nobody kicks extra points. We kicked extra points this last year because I had a kid who played a bunch of soccer, and we could get it there, but. Nobody kicks extra points. It's just too narrow because you lose the width, right? It gets blocked a lot.
Yeah.
And so just trying to change over from we got a gang tackle, you just got to hem everybody in to now you got to get them on the ground. I don't care how you do it.
How you do it because you might nobody may be there right now.
Right. Or just grab on and hope like heck that somebody else is going to come.
Yes.
You know, but you don't see the 6 or 7 guys running somebody
No.
over. You see one guy and you kind of hold your breath and okay, you can tackle him. Thank God.
Yeah.
and that's probably the biggest difference.
How did you adjust scheme wise and everything? Because being an 11-man coach.
Yeah. We run a lot of option stuff, and so that doesn't really change.
No.
And man,
you're still reading the man. Yeah.
Read that guy. We're 5-man line, 3 backs in the backfield, I formation, and first play that we put in is option, and until we get option right, I don't put in another play. And that's a lot of that's from Coach Snyder at Peru and Coach Wells when we were out west of Perkins County. Just you got to be able to do one thing really, really, really well, better than they can stop it. And that that stuff that stuck with me, and that stuff that translates, I think, from 8-man to 11-man.
Right. Oh yeah, I don't think that part
it.
changes. It's just the personnel and the scheme because you don't have the 3 extra guys. And less backfield guys and all that stuff. So how you do everything's just. It's interesting. It's
a little
fun.
bit different.
I think to me, offense would be fun because you have a chance to score every play.
Oh yeah.
But defense, I'd have a headache trying to stop that thing.
Well, there was one game a couple years ago. We had a pretty good team.
Yeah.
And it was a 10-point game at halftime, 38-28. We were playing Palmyra.
That's his alma mater.
Yep. And tight game at halftime, so I'm fired up. Here's the corrections we need to make, and we had a few things go our way. I think we recovered. We kicked off and recovered it. Went down and scored. I think we picked the ball off and went down and scored. Then we stripped them and scored. Before I knew it, we had 80 points on the board. And I didn't know what happened.
80?
We ended up winning 92-38 is what the final score ended up being.
My God, that's a lot of points. Because 38 should get you win.
It should. It should. And
God.
that should, 8-man, it moves fast. Again,
it does,
you make one guy miss, you score.
When I watch it, it's just like, because it's a big field for 16 guys to be on.
Right.
And it's just amazing, yeah. It's an offensive coordinator's dream.
Right. Well, I call the offense, of course.
You look over the defense, can you at least stop them once?
Well, and that's a lot of the conversations we have. You get 2 stops, we'll probably win.
Yeah. Just stop them. Yeah, I can imagine those conversations on game day.
Yeah.
So now, when you coached, are you always been on the offensive side, or have you coached both sides through your career?
We've coached both sides. I give every coach an offensive group and a defensive group, and we go from there. When I was an assistant, I had an offensive group. I was with the backs and quarterbacks, and defense with the DNs and linebackers, and I think that's pretty common at our level that you coach offense, you coach defense, and I might have what I call a defensive coordinator, but I'm still the chairman of the board.
Yeah.
a lot of.
Do you let him call the game, defensive game?
I try. I try to let.
What type of defensive scheme works at that level? I mean, works against 8-man. What do you guys? What's the most common you see out there?
We're trying to figure out what we do. I'm a big even front guy.
Right.
That's what I grew up on. That's what I know.
In this area, that's what we all kind of grew up on. That.
Yeah, and when we were out west, we were 3 front. I brought that with. I think a 3. We call it a 3-4. It's really 3 down linemen, 2 backers. Your corners are kind of hybrid corner outside linebacker types, and then a safety. I brought that with
a safety over the top, right?
Because we had 2 really good linebackers. And,
right.
All right, let's get those guys around the ball as much as we can.
Right.
And the more I look at it, I don't know, 2 gapping's hard for our kids. We don't have great big giant linemen. We have a Marlatt or 2, but those are the exceptions to the rule. But we got a lot of smaller, skinny, fast, athletic looking kind of guys, and
right.
And I don't know, what we might change it up. We see a lot of 3-front, the occasional 4-front. We run the ball a ton, and so we see even 5. And Brownell Talbot tried running the 7-front against us.
Only one guy back?
Yeah, we just optioned it.
Well, how are you going to cover that?
Yeah, it was.
You have nobody to help. If you miss, you're done.
Right, that was the gamble I think they were making, and that
Right.
was we scored 76 at halftime. And then
At half?
Yeah, and then our varsity guys didn't play. They had a pretty bad
76?
year.
I've never heard 76 at half.
Yeah, pretty tough year for them that year.
Was it? I bet.
But
They used to be 11-man too. They went.
Yeah.
They moved to 8-man here just a few years
right,
ago.
right around the same time we did.
The same time Elmwood-Murdock did. Okay. So now that you've been at Elmwood-Murdock, tell me what do you kind of do to get kids out? Because I'm sure that's when we talk to a lot of our coaches, they're all kind of going through that Class A class. It doesn't matter what class you're in, they're all kind of facing the times changes. So what do you guys do? I know a lot of them go through youth programs. So what do you guys do over here at Elmwood-Murdock?
Well, my first year, we had 17 kids out. I had one senior, and I was an assistant basketball coach. We had 9 basketball playing seniors and good athletes.
Did you coach the men and women here?
Boys. I coached boys at Elmwood-Murdock until this year.
Okay.
And I couldn't be okay with that. A lot of the coaches I had, they're hard on you at practice. They expect a lot out of you, but they're the first person to put their arm around you and congratulate you and ask you how your mom's doing and ask you what's going on. And I don't know, it's kind of the approach I've taken. You build that relationship first. I think it's really hard to be hard on kids like I am sometimes if you don't have that trust and that relationship first. And that's what I spend a lot of time trying to do throughout my day is, talk to a sophomore. How's your day going? Talk to how's your brother, and bring kids along and try to make jokes with them and try to find what motivates them and what they get excited about, and then tell them you got to play football. Everybody else loves football, and if I have a kid that I really want out that maybe he missed his freshman year, didn't come out his freshman year, I'll send a kid after him. Somebody that I know they look up to, and we've got great kids now. Great kids, and that's a lot of the culture we try to build. We talk a lot about family, and I believe that because for me, my football team, my basketball team, my track team, they were my family, and that's been huge. And I'm involved with the youth. I'm the head of our youth program.
Well, that helps tremendously.
I don't coach it.
No, I mean just being in charge and kind of getting things going. Let the kids know you care.
Yeah, I let parents coach it. I always have senior boys that help coach. And I officiate every game that we have at home. I ref every game that we have at home.
Well, that helps.
I wear my hat, and every boy out there knows that hey, the head football coach is here watching our game, and I try to make
that helps. That helps get the kids out and get the parents involved
and
all
they
that.
love it. We got great parents all throughout our school at all levels.
Well, that helps tremendously.
So that helps a lot.
So now that are you coaching football and basketball still, or what?
Just football. This year I was made the AD. And,
okay, congratulations.
Thank you. To give me a little bit of time, I guess, to be the AD and teach in the classroom half the day and raise 3 kids now. I'm thankful that they gave me that winter season off, and it's hard not coaching because the first year
but you need a breath once in a while, yeah.
But it has been nice to catch my breath, yeah.
Now, will you help with track this year, Coach?
Not this year. Hopefully in the future. I don't know if my superintendent will let me. But
now do you get a lot of good transfer there with football and track at your school?
We try to. Actually, we just had our meeting with our football and basketball players. Basketball coach and I have a great relationship.
That's good.
And talk to him about why you should run track and if you're serious about winning. Well, we lack some speed right now, and there's one sport out there that contributes to speed, and it's track. And if you're not doing that, and you tell me you're serious about winning, I don't know that you really are.
Right.
And I know there's really good golfers out there. Don't get me wrong, but if you're looking for a break and you're not very good, you've never seen a golf club before, and that's what you choose. That to me that doesn't make sense.
Right.
And it's the first day I tell kids I'm always going to be honest with you, always.
Right.
I'll never lie to you. You might not always like what I say, but I'll never lie to you.
Yeah.
And that goes a little bit with it. Sometimes you're going to hear things you don't like,
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's pretty applicable to life too.
Yeah, I agree. It's really interesting. So, I just I kind of fascinated with what you did because I remember you when you were a young man. So I'm so proud of what you've done and how you've come along as a
Thank you.
as a coach and a teacher and helping young men. And I think that's quite equivalent to what your career. You were a very hard worker in football. I remember that, and I remember you looking at the situation at Peru State there at that time. He was on the sideline when we had our Mardi Gras. He was on the sideline for Peru as a recruit, and we had that big thing, and I didn't even know about it until we got about halfway off the field. And they go, "Coach, you got to go back." And I go up back, and there's you weren't there, but the kids were in a pile up,
any of that.
and the parents were there, and I'm trying to split everybody up, and Terry was too.
Yeah.
And I find out later he was actually on the sideline as a recruit for Peru, but you've done it.
I didn't actually see any of the fighting or any of that.
You must have just took off right
I must
before.
have just left.
Yeah.
By that time, but yeah.
Those games to me, that level are a lot of fun. It's great football. That whole GPAC or Heart of America, it's all good football. And you had a great career, and you've taken that, and now you're helping young men, which I think is great. And you adjusted from 11 to 8, which is I don't think is very easy. And you have a lot of success with you. You're in a good school, so and your weight training is probably big there because I know you believed in all that stuff when you played.
Yeah.
And so
it's a huge part of it all. We spend a lot of time talking about the weight room and in the weight room and have high expectations there, and that's really evolved since I was a player, but it's a huge part of who we are, and our kids identify with the weight room and the accomplishments they make there.
Super. I appreciate you coming out today, Coach, and spending time
thanks
with
for
us.
having me.
I used to professional wrestle before I got back into Dana coaching. Right?
Oh yeah.
Okay. See, this man knows. we got to ask for money or food, not necessarily that order. You kind of get that squint in your eye like you're lost, and you come up here and you go, hush, 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 hush. We'll see you all next week. Thank you, Coach, very much.
You.
Appreciate you having me here.
Yeah.